There's like a pros and cons about this, but I think that the dark side of fashion comes from this fast fashion, because you have like these factories in India or China where you basically have slaves working for doing these cheap products, and it's crazy how like in these modern times, literally you have like this slavery type of work, you have a lot of workers there working with the minimum wage, and in very bad conditions. Like literally they are working like 80, 90 hours per week and they are getting paid like $6 per week. And it's insane, and they don't have any other choice. They need to work because they need to have some money to eat or to feed their families. You have these owners of these places and they are like literally beating them up to work like faster because they need to finish this big amount of t-shirts of jeans by the end of the day. And I don't think brands really care about this, and also like the owners, they just care about like making the deal. If the brand says like, okay, I'm going to sell this t-shirt in $6, so you need to charge me $3 for this, and if you don't want this, I am going to another factory who can make this for the price I'm asking. So they don't have any other choice, but also they don't consider that they, with this money, they are not going to be able to pay to these guys. And there's factories that like collapse and like thousands of people die there and no one cares about this. So I think that's the problem with fast fashion, that we don't know exactly where the products come from, why they are so cheap.
So when I was in high school and I was having these fashion classes, this was a problem in my head, that I was thinking, okay, I will be a designer, and the thing that I really wanted to be is to be a really big one designer. And this thing with fast fashion and with all these bad conditions that are having people for working there, it was a big problem for my young head in this time. I was like, but I want to do that, but in the same way, there is an option to not be involved in it? I think it is really hard these times to not having a big brand connected with this kind of factories, because it's very cheap, and I don't know if there's many others. For example, when you're buying some things that are having a piece that is handcrafted, it's like more expensive, and less people will get it because it is expensive. Yeah, it's good for a brand to have like expensive things and more like, I don't know, haute couture things than pret-a-porter. But yeah, it is really it's really like hard. For example, I don't know, a brand like Karl Lagerfeld. He's having like, he died, but he's having a brand that it is for like this haute couture one that is having for like fashion shows stuff, etc. But they're also making this type of like t-shirts that are only having like a Karl Lagerfeld logo. And I think most of the brands are having these two sides, that one is for, I don't know, everyday people, and one is more like a big events one. And yeah, I don't really know how I'll manage it in like a future, for example, when I will be a bigger designer and I will not do anything, all the things by my hands. Because now I'm doing, I think, all of the things that are connected with changing the clothes I've received by my hands. But maybe in the future there will be so many these things that I will not manage time for it. I will be having a people for it, and to have like these people be good with what they're working. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like people really don't think about these things. Like even myself, I'm probably wearing one of these T-shirts that was made in these factories where they have terrible working conditions. So it's kind of hard to think about these things when you're in a hurry and you just need something to wear. And especially if you go to these stores where you find like these very cheap products, how can you say no to this and just go to the local fashion store and support these local designers where you are going to pay like 3 or 4 times the price that you're going to pay. You cannot compete like with these big brands, you know. So I think that's one of the disadvantages that small designers have against these big corporations. But also the thing that people are not aware of these things, you know, is just like sometimes you just want to have the most basic thing and you will not spend more than 20 zlotys on one piece of clothes, you know, especially in these times that people are not earning that much money to have the luxury to buy like very expensive clothes, you know. I think people should be aware of this, and I think like big heads of these corporations should be aware, and I think they know, but they just don't care. Like I was watching this documentary, and this woman it was just literally saying like, I don't care, you know.
Does it bother me that people are working in a factory making clothes for Americans or for, Europeans, or that's how they're spending their lives? Is that what you're kind of asking me?
Yeah, sure.
No, I mean, they're doing a job. There are a lot worse things that they can.
These people, like the heads of these big companies, they know this is happening, but they probably don't even know exactly what type of things are happening in there, you know. Like this clueless woman was asked about like if she was aware about these things, and if she cares about this, and her answer was like pretty cold, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's for me, it's heartbreaking because, for example, when I will be having a brand and there will be people working that hard and that in bad conditions for me, I don't know, could not sleep at night. You know, I will be having nightmares that I don't know someone is dying sewing one T-shirt that I've designed. That my design is connected with that energy. You know, for me, it's tragic. I think it's not good for fashion industry to have that feeling connected with designing. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Like the energy that you have on the clothes. Like even I believe that when you buy second hand pieces of clothes, sometimes I avoid this because I don't know what type of person was wearing this before, you know. Like you don't know if this person was in Mexico, like if this guy committed some crimes with these clothes, you know. So I honestly I don't have this culture of buying in secondhand stores. You know, I think for a woman it's more easy to go to these secondhand stores, but for guys it's very complicated because first of all I think guys we don't have this culture of recycling clothes. Like when we have a T-shirt that it's very old, we use this to clean the car, or you know, like we give other use to this. So when you go to these secondhand stores, like the amount, I think in general the amount of clothes even in stores is not compared like what you can find for women and what you can find for men. So yeah, sometimes you don't have any other option than going to the store and buy these things that you find there. And especially if you go to these stores and you find this T-shirt that is very cheap and you just need a basic T-shirt, you're going to buy this, and you really don't care about where this is coming from, you know. And you never imagine. Before like watching these documentaries, I never thought about like how these products were made, like how like literally like people die doing this, you know. I think in the fashion schools they should have like some class where they teach some ethics about this, and if you're a designer you will sell your designs only if you're sure that these products are not going to be made in like these terrible conditions.
I think the same, and I don't think that this thing with second hand is like too too big that you were saying, because for example for me the best clothing that I could remake are these ones that I for example got from my grandparents, because my grandma is in the clothes too. She really love clothing. Or for example from a friend of mine that I don't know, they're not using it anymore and they're like, oh, maybe you could do something with it. You know, I'm knowing that person and I'm knowing what energy is having that person, and I know what I get. Like for me it's the best like for receiving clothes, not buying it in second hands. I'm also buying it in second hands, but getting it from a friends of mine, it's the best feeling, I could say. And also, this energy of the gift that they are giving, and this meaning that they are giving, like, oh, you could give a second life for it, do it. It is really beautiful, I could say.
I think it starts when you are doing these catwalks. And I was working in Vancouver in the Vancouver Fashion Week, and I met this designer who told me that she was selecting every model. Like she was like basically like making this scouting to not only choose like pretty models to wear their clothes on these catwalks, but she wanted to make sure that these people were like nice people, because the same, like she didn't want to have like this bad energy wearing their clothes, and I don't know, it happened to me that in these like small shows I know a lot of girls who are not even models, like amateur models, and they are terrible people, like I know a couple in here, and I think it starts from there, like if you probably sometimes you don't have the time, but it will be nice, and it will be like something that it's part of your work ethic in your brand, that you start like selecting based on what they can bring, like what type of energy and what type of person they are. Like it's kind of selective, but I think it involves like more love in the work you're doing, and I think if people knew about how many of these clothes they are wearing came from these places where people are like suffering there, or like how many of these models are like bad person, they will stop like buying this type of clothes. So yeah, I think it's a very important thing that designers should put attention on, because I think it's a very toxic industry, like fashion industry and
Yes.
model industry. But there's people who really care, but I think that people are like is not the big majority, like the big majority, they just don't care, they just want to make business. You hear about these models who are like accepting jobs, but they need to sleep with this producer or whatever, you hear about these things, but you never have like a way to prove this until you see in the news, or you see like these reporters doing these documentaries about it, and you see that this is happening in there, like I don't know if you know this Harvey Weinstein guy. And actually he was the producer of Pulp Fiction, and he's like very big name in the cinema industry, but he was like this type of predator who was like selecting the actors or the actress, and he exchanged like favors in yeah, like if you want to be in my movie, you need to sleep with me and you need to do these things, So it was like a rumor for a long time, until some people start coming out and talk about this. So yeah, like these things happen, and having this type of people in there just like, I don't know, like put a bad name on this industry, I think it's not good that people are not aware about these things.
Yeah, I think especially in modeling, in fashion, there's so much toxic like industry and so much toxic energy in it. I'm having a friend of mine who was modeling in Milano, and to the time she was not, I don't know, speaking with me about what was happening there and how was she feeling, etc. I was not so aware of it. I was just, oh my god, you're having so wonderful time in Milano, like, etc. And she was like terrified of how was she feeling in it, and she canceled to be a model even. And for example, for me, models for my clothes are really important too. I think all of my models are people that I'm knowing, and I'm spending a lot of time with them. Of course, for example, now I was making a new collection, and I was needing a really big amount of models. And yeah, for sure, I could, I don't know, make an post on Facebook on some of these groups that are looking for models, just for like exchanging that the photographer is having a model is having photos. But I really don't want to do that because I really don't know the person that will be going to my studio, or I don't know, in a place in a city for these photos. I'm also making a photos also a type of art thing for me, and I want to do it and spend the time with the best people I could meet.